There's a couple things I think that are quite striking about how Angela Merkel has changed. If you think about it from a sort of EU perspective, she was sort of the tough guy when it came to Greece, wasn't she? And now she's sort of the conscience of Europe, or at least she was when Germany said we're going to let the refugees in. And now she has backtracked, but there's still a difference. If you compare her to, say, Viktor Orban, who I would argue has now become the bad guy in place of her because of his very tough stance on the refugees.
When you talk to her advisors, they basically give you two arguments. On the one hand, she sees this refugee crisis as an opportunity to improve Germany's image in the world. And secondly, there are also really emotions involved in this for her. For example, the pictures from the Hungarian border, of course, remind her, herself being from the former GDR, of pictures from '89 when GDR citizens made the border crossing to Austria. So it's kind of a similar story. Still, it's a highly risky deal she's doing here.
Net migration is something that Europe desperately needs. Its working age population peaked in 2013. If we look at the precedent of Japan, whose working age population peaked in the early 90s, you don't want to take the next 2 decades of economic performance from Japan and transpose them into the European Union. So migrant inflows, and let's remember, in the short term, yes, there are fiscal requirements, as short-term spending, housing requirements are there, but everything we know from the empirical data is these are upwardly mobile people who accrue skills at a very fast rate, and they become positive net contributors to the exchequer of the countries where they reside. So, yes, the medium-term picture on migration is very much a pro for the European Union if it can attract migrants in these numbers.
Refugee crisis, the immigration crisis, really has its roots in the north of Africa, what's going on in Libya, Syria, places like that. Yep. So I think there's an affinity with the problems and a concern about the people. Yeah. And I think that, the extent that humanitarian hands are opened to the victims, there's a lot of sympathy.